What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Maguire, and I'm going to go over some of the ideas and design philosophies that could go into introducing Raincoin as a digital currency. Why a digital currency? We have these examples of what makes a digital currency better, but I want to talk about an overarching philosophy, and that is if you add an economic layer to a community, it transforms it to more than a digital community, more like a digital ecology, in that autonomous organizations can form, grow, and die on their own independently of any central governance structure. So in Ethereum, you see that with the rise and advent of decentralized applications that have nothing to do with the core Ethereum development team, but they all share this value economy in the Ether token. So when we look at designing sustainability in a natural ecology, it boils down to the relationship between efficiency and resilience. And in natural ecologies, it's realized through the relationship of diversity and interconnectivity. So as an example, there's permaculture and monoculture. So monoculture was a very, very efficient way of getting the most amount of crops to the most amount of people as you possibly could. But there's failure points. If there's a plague or something, it knocks out all your crops and you can't have it. So permaculture is a design approach that Anthony touched upon in his last presentation that weaves in the interconnectivity and the diversity in a way that the system itself is more resilient. So you might not get the most water flowing through your system that you possibly can, but you will have a network of diverse nodes essentially collecting and using water, ultimately resulting in more storage capacity for the global network. So these are some examples of how a Raincoin could apply in using it. There's obviously the proof of flow record keeping system. Redemption, these are possible examples, but the redemption for net surplus, if we decided that Raincoin would be like an asset management tool to crowdfund platforms, exchange of goods and service. It could be in-app promotions, access to physical hubs or resources, and then of course gifting. Receiving, you're saying your flow, coin offerings, purchase of products, exchange, and then share of data, redistribution, and obviously just renting extra storage capacity. And that's where smart contracts apply. Sustainability through this idea of gamification, proof of flow being the first example of a game essentially, that how much can you collect and how much can you flow through your network efficiently, and how do we reward that in a way that is sustainable and not compromisable. So the game, is find as many awesome ways to collect, store, and use rainwater as possible, where awesomeness is the unique production versus how much people actually would care about that. So I hope to see RainQ enabled slip and slides, things like that, where people are collecting rainwater and there's so much storage in Florida where they can have these slip and slides where their kids are using them. It's not necessarily the most efficient use of rainwater, but at the end of the day, if we hit a drought, that system can be converted to using something else. So it still works as a function of resilience through this diversity interconnectivity mechanism. I think a good way of doing that is a forum. This is Steemit. If this is an example from Steemit.com. If you know of also Reddit.com, there's voting mechanisms to where the best ideas, anything that the community gives value to will rise to the top. And I think that using a community discourse instance for RainCube is a great way of issuing these games and getting the community value understood by the total network. This brings me to the idea of a foundation. Many cryptocurrencies in the space, including Ethereum, they'll all issue their tokens through this third-party foundation that's aside from any of the core development. They try to be biased or unbiased as possible. So this is the idea of a Raincoin foundation, aka a Thunderhead. They essentially just act as custodians to the Raincoin network in a way that grows it sustainably. They're responsible for things like coin offerings, redemptions, forums and games, and official and what is official and what is unofficial. I perceive, if this is the route, the way I perceive a Thunderhead to relate to the rest of the network with this diversity and interconnectivity in mind is how the Thunderhead would support Raincube products and the IOR network through its relationships with the Raincube core development and the Raincoin community at large. And this is where it's easy to understand how it would support Raincube core, because you think about your first segment is the garden segment, the home gardener segment. That's obvious. You put all your resources into that because it gives the most compounding effects. The more people that have home gardens, the more produce they have, the more rainwater that's flowing through the actual network. But when you go expand it to the slip and slides, the showers, any use case for rainwater possible, it gets a little more complex and it's going to take some more thought involved. I also want to get into the idea of Raincoin-enabled CSAs and products, and this is something that the Thunderhead could do if Raincoin was a mechanism to redistribute net surplus from the network. Community-supported agriculture models are essentially where everybody crowdfunds their project and crowdfunds the growth of a community garden and then redistributes the net surplus of that garden, whether it's moringa, aloe, or anything, back to the community based on what you staked, essentially. These could emerge within a forum instance, for example, if everybody's deciding, they're all sharing data on moringa or banana trees or things like that, and that's how a forum instance would create that autonomous organization. But they could also be crowdfunded through Raincoin or region-specific or product-specific CSAs. The next example is going to be on product-specific. So the local craftsmanship movement is huge and gigantic, and I hope that on our quest to 1 trillion gallons that we start to enable some of these emergent local craftsman models through CSAs and cooperatives. So going back to my example with moringa or aloe, you could crowdfund through Raincoin the creation of a moringa powder CSA or a jam. If everybody's growing strawberries, you could create these jams, sell the jam through an e-commerce storefront, and then redistribute the net surplus to the Raincoin stakeholders. And that's a way to get that economy circular and move beyond the flow of the rain to what it actually is producing. In order to do that, you obviously need funds. This is where I'm going to close actually the presentation, is an ICO. So I want to, or I shouldn't say close, I should say open the discussion, because I don't know exactly the mechanisms of how this would happen, how a coin can be offered, what it exactly entails, but some of the things it could include are obviously the Raincube package itself, a certain amount of Raincoin, and what it could go to fund is the development of the hardware further, creation and management of the forum, and then the creation and management of the foundation or the Thunderhead. So with that, I'm going to open up the discussion, kick it off to everybody else to really nail this down, and hopefully we can get some value out of it. Thank you.